Alright, I'm back. So last time I was here, cylinder 2 had 0 psi, and cylinder 4 had about 60. Now, I came back, I decided to do wet compression test. I did 2 already, no change. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 4 and see what that does. Oh yeah, that's good compression. Alright, so we know for certain that the rings are bad. So, alright, yeah, made a huge difference. Well, at least we know that's our culprit. So, go ahead and bleed this. So, alright, let's get this show on the road, I guess. Alright, just to show you guys how far I've gotten so far. So I took the exhaust manifold, intake manifold off, and I've noticed something. The number 2 intake port is full of oil, which is the oil I poured in on the spark plug side. Usually what causes that is a valve leak, and I just have the cylinder head rebuilt, so I know the valves are good. Over here in the intake, there's a lot of oil in there. So I'm getting some sort of blow by here. Not piston blow by, but if you look in there. So I turned the crank to where the suspect valve would be all the way closed. So you can see it, it's closed. This one's open, so all the way up, it's closed. And these valves, they seem awfully tight. So I've loosened it, and I decided to spray some WD-40 in there and see if it would hold it. And it doesn't. It goes straight down. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this valve adjuster here. It looks like a flathead screwdriver. So I'm gonna take, so watch very closely. I'm gonna turn it left. Ooh, I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was indeed open. There should be a little bit of valve play. So, I don't have any feeler gauges with me, unfortunately, but I think it's supposed to be like a couple thousandths of an inch. So right there is where it starts to catch. I'm just gonna back it off a little bit, like that. And that should be us. Maybe a little more. It's supposed to have just a little bit of play. That might be good. The right way to do this would be with a feeler gauge, but I don't have one, so I'm just going to try and do the best I can and see if that makes a difference. Now I'm going to do a compression test again and see if I made any improvement. Alright, number 4. Sounds a lot better. Right at 100, just about. Better, not great. I wet tested, it did go up a little bit. I think the rings are still stuck. Hopefully they're not worn. I do have a rain kit coming. Let me try piston 2 now. Alright, all the valves been adjusted. They got just the right amount of play in them. Everything seems to be in good working order. Yep. This one still seems a little tight. I'll check that one out. But let's see what piston 2 has as far as compression. Let's see what piston 2 has as far as compression. Alright, so we're at 0. It's bled out. I hear a hissing noise somewhere. Oh yeah, that's a good piston right there. All right, so piston 2 is healthy, it turns out. Maybe I don't need rings. So cylinder 4 is still questionable. All right, so before I go any further, I want to go ahead and try something. So I'm going to take number 4 plug back out. I know 2's good, and 1 and 3 I tested them the first time and they were good. So it turns out all the valves were just adjusted way too far in, so the valves weren't closing all the way, creating a perfect seal. So now those are good. It made a huge difference. Piston 2 went from 0 psi to 150, so it's right up here with the rest of these. Cylinder 4 is still kind of struggling a little bit. When I compression tested it a couple days ago, it read about 60 psi. Now it's reading just at 100. So I think the rings are still stuck. I don't think they're bad yet. I mean, they could be, but the fact that the rest of these are okay, I'm assuming that one should be okay too. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it the old callus try before I take the cylinder head off. And I'm gonna get some seafoam spray, and I'm gonna spray it into the cylinder, let it sit for a couple days, and then I'll come back over the weekend or whenever and see if that made a difference. But yeah, I think it's just the rings are just stuck because this thing had water in it when I got it, so the rings are probably just rusted shut. Hopefully I can get them freed up. If I do, that'll be awesome, and I can just save the piston ring job for another day. I'm not gonna put it back together yet. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the exhaust off because I got a bellows coming for it, and it's easier to put it on with the exhaust removed. So I'm just gonna leave the exhaust and intake off for now. Maybe I'll set the valve cover back on, but that's really all I can do until I get some more stuff for this thing. So yeah, I know it's getting oil, so yeah, it's looking really good so far. So hopefully this motor doesn't need much more to get it back on the water. So I'm ready to take this thing out. But all right, I'll be back. All right, I am back. So got a bunch of parts in. Got the impeller, I'm gonna put that in. I got an exhaust bellow for it. It is 2 1/4. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that clamped up. I got the exhaust manifold back on, tightened up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the intake manifold back on, get this whole thing buttoned back up because everything seems to be working correctly. Cylinder 4 is still a little low, but I think it can get us by for now. I'll just keep putting Marvel Mystery Oil in it till those rings free up, hopefully. But the rest of the cylinders are fine. I do have to adjust these valves a little bit. They do seem a little loose. I backed them off a little too much, so gonna have to readjust those before I put the valve cover back on. Then I'm gonna put the alternator on, get all the wiring hooked back up, and I also got the metal to cover up this transom so you won't have a wide open hole anymore. But let's get the important stuff done first. So I got the intake right there and the carburetor. And put those back on real quick. So from the edge to here, we got about 9 inches. I believe the strip of metal I have is 10 inches wide. It's also about 10 inches. I need some to screw to, so ideally I need about 15 inches. But what I could do is do a long strip along here. It'll cover this up, and I could do a small piece in the center. I don't mind if it overlaps. I actually recommend it that way so water doesn't get in as easy. I'm sure water's still gonna get in a little bit, but as long as the majority of it is covered and I don't have all the electronics exposed, I'll be happy. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start cutting some stuff, and let's see what I come up with. All right, got 2 of the pieces cut. So notice these get wider as they go down. That's because the transom, it angles in towards the front. And I measured it, it's about 4 3/4 inches narrower in the front. So I measured it 4 3/4, took off that amount on the top. I just followed the point all the way to the corner down there. So it should fit, and I'm gonna get the holes drilled and get it dry fit in place. All right, got one side in. Got it bolted in to the transom. Now it's got to zip screw the front, but I'll wait till I get that piece in. And over here I got angled to where it follows the contour of the engine mount, you should say. I think I'm just gonna tack weld this edge to this because I'm probably never gonna take this thing off again. So I think that'll just be the easiest way. And then yeah, that should be good for this section at least. I still gotta cover this up. I don't know what I'm gonna do about this, but it's a slow work in progress. But yeah, let's keep plugging away at it. All right, guys, got the splash shields in. It's looking really good. Took a while, but wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Now I gotta close this gap up here. I made a little plate, made a little flap to cover that hole right there. I'm just gonna pound it flush once I get it all screwed in, but it lines up really good. I'm overall happy with how it's turning out, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these anchored in, and we'll go ahead and move on to these pieces over here. All right, all the stainless steel is done. Screwed in place, welded in place. Underneath side looks pretty good. I'll show you guys that here in a little bit. Now I'm just working on the outer pieces, trying to get those closed up. So I got this piece mocked up. It's a little short on this end, but I'm gonna use it as a template anyway. I'm just gonna add whatever distance it is from here to here, which I measured is about 2¼ inches, but the other two sides seem to line up pretty good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this piece and make a bigger one, and hopefully both sides are symmetrical enough to where I can just cut the same piece. But I'm just gonna cut one for now, and I'm gonna mirror it on that side and see if it fits. But I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting that, then I'll show you guys when I'm done. All right, got two pieces cut out. I mirrored them both to where the prettier side, this is a sticker, this side's gonna be up. So, you know, all the corners and everything look very cohesive. So, all right, let's go ahead and get these things in place. I think this is that side. And this is this side. It's a little warped from cutting it, but once I rivet it in place, it'll be like it never happened. All right, not too shabby. So, I was gonna tack weld these in place, but when you weld stainless steel, it takes the natural oil out of it and it will start to rust in that area. So I think I'm gonna try and avoid welding altogether. I have welded a few spots underneath here, but that's little stuff, and I'll go back and paint it later. But as far as this goes, I want it to be easily removable. Removing rivets is a lot easier than cutting a weld off, so I think I'm just gonna go that route. Plus, you know, I gotta finish buttoning up this diamond plate anyway. It's only held in very few locations, so I decided I'm gonna rivet that as well, because I don't think I ever have to take it off again. But yeah, let's go ahead and I don't have rivets on me. I don't even have the tool either, but there's an Ace Hardware down the street, and go down, get that real quick. And when I get back, I'm gonna start drilling some holes and start riveting. All right, this side's done as far as riveting. Now I got this side to do. Got a couple extra holes I need to drill, but hopefully the rivets suck all this back in, make it look good. But yeah, it's coming out pretty good. All right, let's keep going. All right, all the riveting has been done. Looks really good, except for down here, the screw broke, and I'm trying to drill it out, and of course, my freaking drill died. I only got one battery. Always bringing 2 batteries. That's all riveted in place. I'm not gonna take that protective sticker off just yet. I'm gonna paint all this black, as you can see there. I painted the angle iron before. I painted the angle iron, the spot where the metal sits flush, because I'm not gonna be able to access that later. So I decided to go ahead and paint it now so it doesn't rust in the long run. And yeah, all I got left to do in here is just paint everything black. And then we should be pretty much done as far as in here. Still waiting on a fuel pump. And yeah, after that, this thing should be ready for the water. I gotta get an adapter piece for that. But yeah, it's taking shape. Made a lot of progress today, but I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day, and then we'll have to resume this later on.